Right. So again, lying down any comfortable position if you wish, maybe bringing something underneath your knees or underneath your thighs, like a pillow, roll blanket, blocks, if you want. That helps to kind of take a little bit of pressure off the low back. And then taking a moment here to just kind of check in. Perhaps start by noticing your body on the earth. Notice the touch points of your body on the earth. And maybe taking a moment here to scan your body starting from the crown of your head. And just notice if there's any part of your body that is calling out for your attention. Maybe there's a headache beginning, an old injury acting up. Maybe you're feeling something emotionally that's manifesting somehow in your body. So we're not judging anything, just noticing. And then noticing the sensation of your breath. Noticing the quality of your breath. Is it quick or slow? Shallow or deep? Does it catch anywhere? Or maybe it just flows? And then perhaps you imagine your breath is like energy. As you inhale, send that energy to whatever part of you is calling out for your attention. And as you exhale, watching the energy flow back out. Can you imagine that energy is love, kindness, and compassion? So, our class today is based on self care. So, what does self care mean to you? And can you allow some time for self care without self judgment? It can cross into many different areas of life. It can be about how you talk to yourself, learning to slow down and honor your time. Maybe adding meditation to your day or simply having some quiet time alone. Yogi Andrea Ferretti defines self-care as the conscious act of taking care of your needs so that you can best serve your purpose or dharma in the world. With this definition in mind, self-care is not just an inward journey. It's also about being of service to the world around us. This is why self-care should never be considered self-indulgent. Another way to look at it is putting your oxygen mask on first before you tend to others. If you speak kindly to yourself, you will pave the way for kindness to others. The self-care of yoga and meditation helps you stay present and tune into self-awareness, making conscious choices easiest to tap into throughout your day. So today's practice will give you opportunities to ask yourself which shapes we come into that nourish your body. And as we go through class, notice which shapes you enjoy and which ones are challenging for you, either physically or mentally. And maybe build a picture of what self-care is for you in your class and in your life. So finding some small movements here in your fingers and toes. Perhaps rolling around wrists and ankles. And then whenever you feel ready, hugging both knees in towards your chest. Maybe you rock from side to side or make circles with your knees. Maybe you can allow this hug to be a moment of self-care. Giving yourself a big hug. Okay, so from here, let's place both feet back on the earth, knees are bent. Allowing your right ankle to cross over your left thigh, activating your right foot, so slowly curling back, gently curling back your toes. And then whenever you're ready, either staying here, taking the right hand and pushing the right thigh away so the knee comes closer to the front of your mat, or perhaps you draw your legs in closer towards your chest, grabbing a hold of the left leg somewhere. Right foot stays active. Relaxing your shoulders, softening around your eyes. Where can you send that love, kindness, and compassion to yourself right now? We're going to stay here for just a few more rounds of breath. Whenever you're ready, releasing the left foot to the earth if it's up off the earth, and crossing the legs, and then making your way over to the other side. Left foot is active. This is just to protect the knee as we move the legs around. So perhaps the left hand pushes the left thigh, sending the knee forward. Or if it's in your body, draw your legs closer toward you, grabbing a hold of the right leg somewhere. So remember, we just got started. Muscles are still kind of cold. We keep them kind of cold in more of a yin style class so that we can target the ligaments and joints and the connective tissue rather than the muscles. So just go as far as you feel comfortable, back out if you need to. Softening your shoulders, relaxing your jaw. So we just want to notice what sensations we feel. We don't want sharp shooting pain or a burning sensation, but you'll likely feel something. Notice how this pose feels in your body. Is it something that you enjoy? Something that maybe you can focus on to be an act of self-care? And if not, just breathe through it. All right, let's find one more round of breath here. And then gently releasing the right foot to the earth if it's up. Uncross the legs. We're going to bring the legs, feet mat distance apart, knees stay bent, and just gently windshield wipering, nice and slow, the knees from side to side. So slowing down as much as you need to take care of yourself and to be nurturing. All right. Allowing your knees to come back to center, walking your feet back towards each other, and then rolling over to one side, whichever side is calling for you. And then gently making your way up to seated. All right. Let's do a little movement here for the back. So any seated pose that's comfortable for you. Maybe it's easy seated pose, crisscross applesauce, or maybe you'd rather have feet together and knees apart. Listen to your body. And we're just going to find some seated cat-cow here. So rounding your spine, tucking your chin, tucking your tailbone. Really arching your back away. And then let's move in the opposite direction. So shoulders roll back and down the spine, allowing the heart to shine up towards the sky. Maybe a little bit of a back bend here. And take your time, again, going into that seated cat pose. And into the seated cow. One more time in each direction. And then coming back to center. Okay, so our next pose is called a seated swan. I'm going to give you different options here for what feels good for you in your body. So either feet are going to be on the earth, knees are bent, arms are going to come back behind you, fingers point back. So maybe your feet stay here, or maybe you find that figure four shape that we came into on the earth. So right foot is active, crossing the right ankle over the left thigh. You might feel something, you might not. You can always walk that foot in a little further. If you wish to feel a little bit more of a stretch here in your shoulders, maybe you walk the arms back or you slide the hips forward. If you don't have any neck issues and if it feels good for you in your body, perhaps you soften your head back. Notice the sensations you feel in your shoulders as you take deep inhales. And then notice how it changes as you exhale. All right, gently uncrossing your leg. And then if you wish, coming over to the other side, activate the left foot, knee crosses over, or no, ankle crosses over the knee. All right, so part of self-care is checking in. Is it too much with your arms back? Maybe you need to walk the arms up a little bit. It's a little bit of sensation, but not too much. All right, taking deep breaths in. Notice the sensations in your body. Remember, you're not stuck in any pose. You can come out early if you need to. All right, let's find 2 more rounds of breath here. And then uncrossing your legs. Maybe you slide your hips back or you walk your hands towards your hips. All right, we'll find some shoulder rolls here. So any comfortable seated position. Let's do this. Let's bring the hands to the shoulders and then find some rolls in the elbows. So making shapes, circle shapes with the elbows as they come up and then back. Notice how it feels in your shoulders if you're able to roll your shoulders back and down your spine as you make these circles with your elbows. So one more time here. And then releasing your arms down by your sides. All right, so we are going to come into a caterpillar pose. If you have a blanket, I invite you to place the blanket, maybe folded underneath your hips. And we're going to bring the legs out in front. So I'll turn so you can see me a little better. All right. So this blanket underneath the hips is to help us kind of shift forward a little bit. Sometimes when we sit down without something under the hips, we tend to kind of round. All right, so in our caterpillar pose to begin, legs are long, activating both feet. Inhale to lengthen your spine, and then exhale to fold forward. So see if you can first come forward with a flat back. Maybe you walk your hands away from you. So if this feels like it's way too much in the backs of your legs, perhaps finding either a rolled blanket or a block and placing it underneath your knees or underneath of the upper, no, where the thigh and the knee meet, around there. All right, and then whenever you're ready, exhale, soften. Maybe your back starts to round, head starts to drop, relax the feet. Finding your breath. Notice your breath in your back body. As you inhale, notice your back body expand. As you exhale, feel your body coming back to center. So self-care, maybe you need to walk your hands back, come up a little bit if it feels like too much of a stretch or if you're feeling discomfort in your low back. So I know sometimes I feel discomfort along the backs of the knees. What helps for me is to activate the feet and then push the heels down slightly into the earth. That makes the knees lift up a little bit. It's a little more work, but it's a little more comfortable too. So let's find 2 more rounds of breath here. Once that's complete for you, walking your hands back up, coming up to seated. Okay, we're going to leave the legs out in front. Bring the hands back behind us. Fingers point away, shoulders roll back and down. Spine, open the heart up towards the sky. All right, slowly coming back to seated. Okay, and we're going to come off of our blanket if you're on one and come down onto the front body, onto the floor. We're going to find a Sphinx pose here to begin. So forearms will come to the earth and check to make sure the elbows are underneath the shoulders. So forearms should be parallel to each other. We're going to bring the feet wider than hip distance apart here. So shoulders roll back and down the spine. Lift the heart. And then energetically pulling your arms toward you. All right, then kind of soften the low back and soften the feet. So most of this effort is in the front body. And if you feel discomfort in your low back, maybe you play around with the position of your legs. So maybe feet come wider, or for some people, they feel more comfortable bringing toes together, heels apart. So self-care, what feels the best for you here? What can you do to soften into this pose without losing the integrity of the pose? So the only thing we don't want to do is sink into it so that our shoulders are up by our ears. Okay, so you have a choice. You can stay here, or you can come into seal. What's it called again? Okay, so in seal pose, we're going to bring our hands out in front, wider than shoulder distance. Fingers turn out towards the sides. Shoulders roll back and down the spine. So maybe you experiment a little bit here with where you want your arms to be. For more of a back bend, perhaps you walk the arms back a little bit. Notice the sensations in your shoulders, soften the shoulders. Soften your jaw. That's fine. 2 more rounds of breath. And then gently lowering back onto the forearms. If you wish, use your hands to come underneath your forehead, or maybe turning your head to one side, bending the knees, and windshield wipering the feet from side to side. All right, so while we're here, we're going to find a cuddle pose. I'm sure there's another name for it, but I'll just call it cuddle pose because it's a nice self-care pose. Okay, so in our cuddle pose, we're going to bring our arms out, either cactus arms or maybe arms out in a T. Or again, hands can come underneath your forehead, head to the floor. So what we're going to do is we're going to slowly start sliding the right out to the side, bending the knee. So we're going to bring it out. And the higher it is, the more of a stretch you will feel. The higher the knee towards your head. The further your knee is away from you, the less of a stretch you will feel. If you need to, if it's uncomfortable on your knee, feel free to grab a blanket to place underneath the knee. Sometimes it helps to use the blanket to kind of pull the leg up a little higher if you wish. So if you're here, arms out to the sides or arms in cactus arms, I invite you to look over towards the right side. And as you sink and settle into this pose, notice if anything starts to shift in your body. Maybe you're able to soften into this shape a little bit more. Is there anything that you need to do differently in this pose that would help you soften and relax the most? And no judgment about how you look in this shape. Maybe your hips are far up off the earth. Maybe your hips are slowly starting to come towards the earth. Every day will be a little different. All right, finding 2 more rounds of breath. And then allowing that right leg to come long behind you. And cuddle pose on the other side. I forgot to mention on the first side, if it's easier to roll over onto the one side to bring the knee up and then slowly roll onto your front body, feel free to do that. So lots of options here for this pose. If arms are in a T or cactus shape, looking to the left. And again, noticing your breath. Perhaps you feel your breath in your back body. Sending love, kindness, and compassion with your breath to whatever part of you is calling out for your attention. Finding 2 more rounds of breath. And then in your own way, making your way back to legs behind you. Okay, let's come into a tabletop pose. Wrists are underneath the shoulders, knees are underneath the hips. And finding some cat-cow. Rounding your spine, tucking your chin, tucking your tailbone. See if you can really arch your back up towards the sky. And then moving in the opposite direction, tailbone points up, shoulders roll back and down your spine. Just moving here at your own pace with your own breath, seeing where it's more comfortable to inhale and where it's more comfortable to exhale. So one more time in each direction. And coming back to your tabletop pose. All right, let's find a child's pose. So big toes together, knees apart, hips come back. If your head doesn't come all the way down to the earth, feel free to grab something to place underneath your forehead. So arms coming out long here. And know that if coming into a child's pose on your front body is uncomfortable, on your knees, you can always come back over onto your back and hug your knees in towards your chest. So kind of like a child's pose here on the back. Okay, softening your hips, softening your shoulders. Notice if this shape in your body nourishes you somehow. And if not, what kind of adjustments can you make so that you are able to settle into this pose? Can you slow down your breath just a little bit more? Can you let go of tension just a little more? All right, finding one more round of breath. And then making your way back into your tabletop pose. And then come on over onto your back. So before you come to your back, bringing your prop with you to use for a supported bridge pose. So in our supported bridge, lots of options for this one. We're going to bring first the feet to the earth, knees are bent. And then pushing the feet into the earth, lift the hips, bringing your prop underneath you. So we don't want it in the low back, we want it kind of below there. So the sacrum, maybe even under the tailbone. So try to, even though you think you may be able to bring your prop up a little bit higher, keep it kind of low to begin. And then what we're going to do here is, two options. Either feet come wide on the mat, knees come together, or perhaps you extend one leg long. Maybe both legs come long. All right, if you want a little bit more, maybe arms reach up and back behind you, fingernails to the earth. And then soften. And just kind of notice how it feels as you sink and settle. And then make any adjustments you need to If it's in your body and you want to make that prop underneath you a little bit higher for a little more of a stretch, feel free to do so. We want comfort in the low back, so you may need to also adjust that prop underneath you. Maybe it needs to go further down towards your feet. Remember, you're not stuck in any pose. You can make adjustments at any point. And if you need to come out early, feet come to the earth, knees are bent, pushing your feet into the earth to remove your prop. And then before making any quick movements, see if you can just allow your back to settle into the earth. So that's just if you need to come out. So I invite you to consider if there's anything in your life that maybe would provide you more self-care. Is there anything you can start doing for yourself? And remembering that self-care is something that we find joy from and not something that we feel we need to do or should do. I would love to meditate for half an hour every morning before everyone else wakes up. That is never gonna happen though. So, for example, I could find 10 minutes before bed to meditate. What can you bring into your life for more self-care? Maybe it's just finding moments of quiet, silence, and stillness. Maybe it's allowing for a little more time for sleep. I find it interesting how in our society we think we need to sleep less, get more done. And really, it could benefit us if we sleep more, get less done. Okay, so finding 2 more rounds of breath. And then wherever you are in this shape, arms come by your sides, feet come to the earth, knees are bent, feet are about hip distance apart. Gently pushing your feet into the earth to lift your hips, remove your prop. Slowly lowering your hips back down to the earth and then just wait. No rush, no sudden movements. Allow your back to soften. Releasing any tension you feel. And then if you wish, feet come mat distance apart, windshield wiper the knees from side to side. So I know we sometimes want to hug the knees in right away to stretch out the low back, but For anyone that has a low back issue, that can actually make things worse by overstretching. Okay, so I invite you here to find anything else in your body that you need. Take the next 2 minutes for self care. Is there another shape you wish to come into? Do you wish to find socks and a blanket? What do you need? Maybe you turn down the lights in your room. Lots of options. All right. So another minute here. If there's anything else you would like to do, maybe another side you would like to explore, or maybe you're already in Shavasana or any final resting pose on the earth. Then again, returning to the sensation of your breath. Can you take deep inhales in through your nose, into your diaphragm, and long, slow exhales out. And again, noticing any part of your body that may be calling out for your attention. Perhaps you send your breath to that part of you. Or maybe imagine holding that part of you. Providing that part of you with comfort and care. Perhaps imagine holding it the same way you would holding a family pet or a loved one when they need kindness and care. So we're finding a place in Shavasana. Again, holding any part of your body that needs kindness, compassion, and care. Imagine holding it the same way you would if you were caring for a family pet or someone you love. And gently bringing your awareness back into the room. Making some small movements in your body. What movements can you make here that can be nurturing to your body? Whenever you feel ready, rolling over to one side, whichever side is calling for you. And then gently making your way to seated. And once you get there, lowering or closing your eyes. On On your inhales, I invite you to inhale self-care and self-compassion. And on your exhales, letting go of anything that is standing in your way. May you go in peace, love, and gratitude. Thank you for joining me. Have a beautiful evening.